Do, 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 do. It's setting up. It should be, yep, that should be live right there. There we go. All
There we
right,
go.
everybody, we are streaming live. We are streaming live. So let me go ahead and create a watch party on my page. If you want to go ahead and do what you got to do.
Okay, I see you now.
Yeah, you see it. So go ahead and create a watch party on your, and then you could, I guess you could share it with your other. Cool. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the front door. We do this every day at 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And already, wow, we already got, we got people. So that's cool.
Nice.
That's cool. I see. Yeah. Hey, much love to everybody out there. We got DJ CZR or Caesar. I've known him for quite a while. Hey, welcome. Let's see. Let me start inviting some people here, and it should be pretty good. You're just let me know when you're ready, and then I'll get these people to you tell us who you are. Because remember, one of the things that I'll tell you that not everybody knows, that's on my page and everybody online, they know the name, but they don't know you. So if you want to go ahead, Caesar, and introduce yourself, please.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Angelo, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, so basically I'm a DJ, producer, remixer, songwriter, father, husband, like all across the board. I that's what I do for a living though. I make music.
Aren't you a venue owner too? Did you own venues too?
Yeah, I used to be an owner at a venue that I'm no longer a partner.
Okay.
We're out of that. But yeah. So I've done it all across the board with music, from working at a distributor, a record store that I owned, which we used to sell your CDs and mixtapes that we just talked about a little while ago.
Long time ago.
But yeah. So all across the board, I've been hands-on with music. Like I said, from the distributing part to the retail side to creating the music and so forth.
All right. So, Caesar, how? Yes, and I know the answer, but I'm going to. So, when was the first time we met?
The first time we met. I like that story actually. So I used to live in the neighborhood in Pilsen. Some call it Little Village, but I know it's Pilsen. The boundaries have changed. But Malos was the name of the place.
Mm-hmm.
The owner, he actually let me work there. Like since I was young, I wanted to work and just make money and just be busy, really. You know what I mean? And so I was cleaning up after the night, previous night's entertainment that had happened. And so I was throwing out garbage, and one of those times that I was throwing out garbage, I actually ended up finding this record. I was like, what is this record? Like, it was crazy to find this record in the garbage. So I had brought it back inside, and I was trying to see if I can keep it. But I remember you walking in, and then that's how we met actually while I was working there during the day, but you were a DJ at night. Actually, I remember you actually letting me, sneaking me into the club. I hope you don't get in trouble for that, but I was definitely really young, and my experience was that of like going and checking out the DJ booth and stuff, and I think that's where we met, right? In your DJ booth?
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna refresh your memory.
Yeah.
Yes. Jimmy and Johnny had you cleaning up, and I remember that I had met you cleaning up. It was you and a bunch of the other kids from the neighborhood. I guess it was. I forgot. There was a couple of kids that were there. There may be about 4 or 5 kids that were cleaning up, and Johnny was there and Jimmy was there, and I think I remember you being there and stuff like that. So that was no big deal. But I think I remember more specifically is that I walked in and I'm hearing the sound on, meaning that the music was playing.
Yeah, right. At the DJ was correct. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, and I remember I walked into, I'm like, who the hell is playing my music? And that's what I was just seeing. And all I remember is seeing you standing on some crates, and you were like, you had the headphones on, and you were basically DJing.
Yeah, that's
And
like I was 12 years old. I was 12 years old.
yeah, yeah. And I said, hey, what are you doing? And you said to me, "Oh man, I hope you don't mind." And I says, "No, no, no, no. As long as I know you're taking care of the records, you're not breaking any of the needles, because that's what
Yeah,
we're worried about." I go,
yeah,
"No,
yeah.
I get." And I think I was at the time, I think I was 20 years old or 21 or something like that. I,
Okay.
I was not old, but I remember walking in. And you were there, and I remember you were the headphones. You were doing you're ready to I don't think you were scratching, but I just remember hearing the music. I'm like, who's playing the records? And there
Right,
you
right.
are. You're standing on top of the crate because you were short, you were tiny, and
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
was a little up and stuff like that. I remember you, and I remember I was like, all right, well, and Jimmy kind of came to me and said, hey man, he goes, they're cool, they're not gonna. He says, no, no, I don't care, man. Let him. If he wants to practice, if he needs to practice somewhere, if he's gonna do it and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
that's
no, that's awesome, though. That was
that,
awesome.
that's what I remember at first time I met you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I guess it right from the different point of view is that's when I had seen you, which technically I didn't meet you because you were like in there to do whatever, and I'm cleaning. You know what I mean?
Right,
But like I know who you were. Where you just like you were there to do business with Johnny or Jimmy,
right.
and you were out. But yeah, that time that's when we actually met was in your DJ booth. Correct.
Yeah, that's right. That was the time. And I say, and I tell that story to people, and people are like, what? I was like, yeah, man. Caesar. First time I met Caesar, technically met him. He was DJing on my records, and he'd like,
Right.
oh, oh, I hope it's okay.
Yeah,
And I
I'm
go,
busted.
no,
Yeah, I'm
it's
busted. Right,
okay.
right,
But I knew you took care of the records, and that was why I was like, oh, okay, he's taking care of the records and stuff. And then then after that, I don't know how many times you went up there to DJ and stuff like that. And then I think it was like sometime after that, maybe a year, 2 years later, then I started DJing at Quint 2. I think I had left, but other DJs were DJing there.
yeah, yeah. That's right. That's right.
They were doing alternative and stuff like that. I forgot who. I think John Hernandez was DJed there as well, and a couple guys had DJed after me and stuff like that. But I remember that. So
Oh, for
after that, you were, like I said, you were 12 years old. Where did you go after that, or as far as music was? Where did your path take you?
All right, so when it comes down to the music part, I'm gonna hold off as far as making the music. The first part for me was DJing, right? And so that story coincides with what was my past, right? And then the other part is that this guy named right from the same neighborhood, Steve Chavez. He actually is the one that actually taught me how to blend. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And then in another neighborhood, and then when I say another neighborhood, it's kind of where my grandma lives or whatever. Not kind of, that's where she lives, and my grandfather. So in that same neighborhood, a friend of mine, Rafael Ito, he
Yes.
was DJing, and I saw that he had mobile gear, whatever, and I was introduced to him by another friend from my neighborhood. And so anyway, so Steve Chavez is one that actually taught me how to blend. Another friend of mine, Ito, like I said, he's the one that actually let me kind of practice or whatever. And then another friend of mine, Carlos Heredia, I teamed up with him. I already had a little bit of a collection of records. Then I joined with him, Carlos Heredia, and we would practice or whatever. Like pretty much, honestly, the only practice that I would get is when I'm actually out there DJing house parties or whatever it was. And but he was able to let me. He let me use records. I let him use mine as well. He would keep them. So that was kind of my path in regards to the DJ part of it. I started meeting like promoters, and I was helping them pass flyers out and whatnot. And then before you know it, like I'm on the actual flyer. I started throwing parties of my own, house parties and hall parties and stuff. And I mean, there's like so many stories, you know what I'm saying, that happened. But then anyway, so then fast forward to when I'm 16, I'm actually working at DJ International Records, and I was actually working at the distribution part of it, Quantum, which basically Benji owned. I believe Rocky owned it too. But nonetheless, Yaya is the one that actually interviewed me and, you know, said, we need to hire this kid. Benji said, okay, cool. She, you know, they have a good rapport with each other. Obviously, they work with each other. And I started working there at DJ International. I don't even know how long it took, but maybe like a few months, let's just say 6 months, whatever it was.
Are you aware Yaya used to be a waitress for us over at Malos?
No,
Yeah, she was a waitress.
no way. Look at that.
Yeah, she was a waitress at Malos. So I've known Yaya since that when you were there at little 12-year-old, she was a waitress there. Yeah.
That is crazy. That's pretty interesting. I didn't know that.
Yep.
So being at Quantum, you know, I got to meet all the guys, you know, and the girls, you know, Fast Eddie, Sundance, JMD, like Tyree, whatever, Cool Rock. And through there, you know, as a DJ, you know, I have ideas of how to spin and, you know, what goes with what. So I had the itch to actually like want to produce music. And then I submitted a demo to Rocky Jones. He liked it, gave me studio time. Boom, I had my first record out, right? 16 years old.
What was that? What was that? Which record?
The record was called Dance to the Drummer's Beat, and that featured Rap a Lot. Side note on Rap a Lot, if you guys are familiar with who Twista is, or some people might know him as Tongue Twista First, his name is Rap a Lot. He's the owner of Seawall, which put out Twista, Speed Not Mobsters, and so a lot of the classic hip hop. I believe Crucial Conflict, but nonetheless, it was a lot of the Chicago hip hop he put out. So I'm actually proud to say that I put out his first record, and then fast forward, and then, you know, he's doing big things with these guys or whatever. You know what I mean? Right. From the other side of hip hop, which is, you know, the house side was the hip house, the other side is the hip hop with Seawall and them.
Right. So what year was that when you did your first record? What year was that? That was
first record. I think it was. Oh man, I always forget. It's either 1990 or 1991.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, one of the two. But yeah, but it was crazy because working at Quantum, I got to talk to like a lot of record stores, a lot of the buyers and whatnot. One of the buyers there at a store in El Paso happened to be a DJ on the radio there in that city. And actually ended up spinning also while I was 16 years old. At the same time that I think it was before I came out with my record, I believe. I spun on their station live, which was kind of exciting for me because, you know, live is live. You know what I mean? You never know what's going to happen. Right. And so that's a great memory for me. And actually, I have that mix that I had. My cousin had recorded that. His name is Tito. He had recorded it. Because that's why I was out there, because he lived out there, and he recorded my mix that I was actually spinning on the radio, and then off the radio he recorded it. So anyway, so he gave that to me. So of course I'm in proud possession of that. My little brother, Rick, he ended up playing. He would play it over and over again. That he actually popped the tape. So the first part of the tape is kind of messed up. So I that's actually where I learned how to edit, as a matter of fact. How to splice together tape, and so then now it works. So then now, you know, I still have the tape. I actually uploaded it to I think it's Mixcloud. I think that's right. I have it up there. But but yeah, you know, great memories. You know, just starting off, and you know, boom, I have a record deal. Boom, I'm spinning at a big radio station in Texas. You know what I'm saying? So it was just a lot of little things that were kind of happening that really add up to big things. You know.
Well, this is going to be a question, and this is probably not very known to a lot of people out there, is that when in 1991, and mistake me if I'm wrong, when you guys working at Quantum or Benji doing what you were doing, there wasn't a category technically for the music that you were pushing. there was dance and there was club hits, but there were, we were considered house music, and it isn't like you call up a distributor and say, hey, I got house music. You would say, this is coming out of Chicago, and this is what, you would push this is the club music that's coming out of Chicago. And I don't think nobody called it house music yet. Technically, it wasn't called.
I mean, in 91, I think I actually kind of do recall the people calling it house music. 91. Earlier, I would definitely say no.
Yeah, here in Chicago. But what about?
Okay, you're talking about abroad and stuff.
Right, exactly. That wasn't. So you being a distributor, you would call up these people, like I know cold calling and stuff, and say, hey, I got this track. It's a headbanger. Yeah. So if somebody says, "Oh yeah, it's house music," technically you weren't. They didn't know what Chicago house music was. I'm saying over abroad, Chicago, yes, but not. So it was tricky in that sense, because you wanted to sell units, and I'm sure once you sold them, then it was just a matter of like, okay, well, you like that? Well, I got more here. Blah, 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 blah. Here's
right.
selling on a charge. Hey, stuff like that. But that's what I was just trying to convey, is that I know as a distributor, it kind of is different from hence being the artist aspect of it or DJ aspect of it, because distributor is a lot of work. Distribution is a lot of work.
Yeah. I mean, obviously now distribution and everything, the fact that it's digital links and all that stuff works out a lot better. Back then, you actually had to play the record over the phone. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So that was the crazy part. Now looking back now, it's like crazy, right? Like, man, that's how we sold. And you got to push it, like you said, right? So you got to figure out, how can I sell this record that we have new that nobody knows this artist or whatever? So we got to like say, yo, this is some hot, and we get feedback obviously from DJs from here in the city. I know Benji was really good at keeping up with the DJs. Yaya, the same thing. And play this. Yeah. They would take the records to the, and that's actually what I learned how to do through them. Is I have a new release, I'm taking it to every single club here in Chicago. I can't go outside of Chicago, but definitely in Chicago. You're spinning somewhere here. I don't care if you're a bedroom DJ, the biggest DJ in Chicago or whatever. I'm putting this record in your hand. You know what I mean? And I learned that hustle, I think, from Benji and Yaya of how they app stuff. You know what I mean?
And I give shouts out to Benji and Yaya, because they were the heart. I say the backbone of what happened here in Chicago for that time of the music. And it wasn't easy. Oh my God, it was not easy and stuff like that. I remember getting the white labels, the test pressing and stuff like that from all the, and being a DJ at the club, that we had a lot of DJs had the advantage, but some of the DJs didn't have the advantage. And we would look for you guys, you mean the distributors, like, okay, what's the hot new one and stuff like that. And me, I was, okay, right. I want that test.
And what's cool about that is that, you push something, and you're not just a salesperson, right? Because obviously a business, that's the business, right? You gotta get the numbers, but to get people's, respect, if you may, or the trust, that's actually a better word. Them to trust you, like, yo, you need this record. You got to order, if you order 25 of that, you need 50 of these. You order 10 of those, you need 20 or whatever, you know what I mean? So as in the distribution part of it, you definitely need to know your stuff, you know what I mean? And owning a record store, I was dealing with the distributors, and they would push records on me, and I hated that. Sometimes, like, okay, they got me on that one. That I shouldn't have bought that record or whatever, you know what I mean? But I would order low numbers, like 2 or 3s, 5, because small business, you can't really afford to take a big loss, So you gotta you take a little hit, but that's okay, you know what I mean? But nonetheless, you learn from one and then put that into another area. So the distribution, then I put it into the record store, you know what I mean? But also the same thing is that, as a producer or remix or whatever, like, this is my brand. Even back then I wasn't thinking of although I wasn't thinking of branding or whatever. I just knew that my sound, my whatever, like whatever I'm selling, I want it to be good. You know what I mean? Like if it's tacos that I'm selling, like, yo, I gotta love these tacos. You know what I mean? I gotta, have a craving for them. But in regards to music, it's kind of the same thing, right? Like, yo, I love how he does this. So you kind of pick up stuff, and so you got to put your as to say, your money with your mouth where your mouth is. You know what I mean? So I've done a lot of that.
So after the distribution aspect of the DJing aspect, what about how soon was that did you start doing the production? Because I remember you had a different sound than what I used to see in house tracks per se from other DJs that produce here and stuff like that.
Got you.
What year?
So
what was?
so like I said, my very first release was when I was 16 years old, and then I had a second release, I think within that year as well, and that was a single. I mean, the first one was a single. The second one was just on an album. So between 16 and 17 years old, I had, 2 songs out. And then I stopped working at the distribution. Then I was working at the DJ International record store. And then as a DJ, I'm like, I have ideas and stuff or whatever, like, that song might go good with this one or that one, whatever. But then it went beyond that of ideas to actually like put more stuff together. But then what I actually tapped into is I did a mixtape series with Ito, and we did basically, it was 3 releases, but it was all edits. And just although I said a little earlier that I learned how to splice tape together, I just learned how to put it together and make it fine. But who actually really took the time, and trust me, it was a short lesson, was Martin Boogeyman. When I was at DJ International, he actually was like, okay, this is what you got to do. This and marker here, this and that. Cut it here, throw this out, cut it there. And so he taught me the logistics of it. I was like, oh, okay, I can do that. So learning that from Martin, then we're going to do this mixtape, me and Ito, and under the Hispanic Syndicate Empire. Right. The name of the mix was the Ultimate Party Mix, and then Ultimate Party Mix 2, and then Ultimate Party Mix 3. Now, although, like I said, I credit Boogeyman for actually taking the time to say, okay, this, boom. It was like, now I'm on my own, and that was it. Like I was working, so he took a little quick lesson of what he was doing. He taught me. Fast forward to it must have been like 2 or 3 years when I did that mixtape series with Ito, and I said, fuck it, let's go. Let's buy a reel to reel. Let's get whatever, So I'm like, I can do this. And I ought to at least attempt to, right? And then it worked. So basically, if you were to listen to the Ultimate Party Mix 1, I was learning from that point to the last one, but you see some progress and stuff, but nonetheless, the whole mixtape series did actually really well with us. We got a lot of respect for it. A lot of people didn't think that we were doing it with tape, because there's a lot of tape on the floor and whatever, like I have a lot of memories with that with Ito, of he didn't know how to edit, but he had a lot of ideas. I had a lot of ideas. So whatever it took to make it happen, we did it. So from that mixtape series is when I got the urge to actually do another recording, right? And that next recording was Jazz for That Ass. That was on my label, Grifa Records. And same thing, so I was a label owner at that point. I must have been maybe like 20 years old, I think, something like that. Okay. And I went, ahead and did that thing. And that first release, actually, DJ Jess actually did a remix for me. And we actually ended up doing it together, really. But he was on the flip side. I did all the other tracks, put it out, and I got licensing for, the main song, which is Jazz for That Ass. There was just different mixes of it. And so I got a licensing deal from that. I was like, oh, damn, that's awesome, right? So I got the money in my pockets. I'm like, I'm going to reinvest, right? So I reinvested in another EP. But yeah, that's kind of how it just kind of builds, you just one thing led to the other, back to back.
So when did you start building, or basically when you started doing all this, was that where you started making your studio and getting bigger, started like buying equipment and saying, okay, I'm going to buy this reel to reel, I'm going to buy this 808, I'm going to buy this, did you start
You know
just
what?
growing your equipment as you made money?
Yeah, and I can't even say growing, but it was just a very humble. It's not actually. I just ran into a picture of me in the studio. I think I don't know if my wife took it or my son, and it's a black and white picture. Actually, I might post it and stuff too because I thought it was pretty cool. Because it shows the speakers that I was using, and it was in studio monitors, and I had a desk as my table for my MPC and my mixer, which the very first MPC, the first equipment that I bought in regards to, actually, let me give credit to my mom first. When it comes down to the DJ equipment, my mom bought me my first setup, and it was 2 turntables, a mixer. It wasn't that great of a stuff, but what I was living with her, and she bought me this equipment, and I was, it wasn't the right techniques. It was just the techniques like that. The pitch control were on the edge, the 200, I believe it was. And so they were difficult to mix with, but any practice is better than no practice, right? So then, but my first equipment that actually, me personally, I bought, I ended up actually buying, me and Ito went halves on an MPC. I told him, yo, I know I can fuck with this thing. I'm going to use it. Let me learn it. So we went halves on it. And then we ended up buying another one. And then we went halves on that one. So I would keep the first one with me, learned it, and then I taught him, and then he learned how to do tracks and just lay ideas down and whatever. So I was on go mode, you know what I mean? Like I had my equipment that was very small, like I said, from house speakers, that MPC that Ito and I bought. I bought the mixer. Me and him were actually doing weddings at the time in quinceañeras. And so, you save a little bit of money here and there, and you kind of build up to it, obviously with me and my wife we had, I think that time we had maybe just my son, but you still have to provide for the family, and then still, this is a hobby at one point. You know what I mean?
Right.
Now I'm trying to create into a business, lucrative, so I can actually make money from it and stuff. And I was making money, so I was able to reinvest slowly. And then when you get this licensing deal for one of the songs that I had, like I said, Just for That Ass, then it's like, oh, now it's on, right? So now it just gives you inspiration to keep going. But yeah, my equipment was it's still the same thing, man. It was just an MPC, that mixer, for a very long time. I bought some speakers, and then I invested into a microphone because Michael Ryden he's known for Mix Connection, or Bible Bill's, the president of Bible Bill's company, Mix Connection. He's like, yo, C's, you need this. Like you're gonna need this. This is something that you should purchase. And mind you, he was, I think, getting rid of his because he didn't need it anymore. So he was just trying to sell it. But I know that he was genuine about what he was telling me. And then with that microphone, I ended up making a lot of records with singers and rappers and stuff. And to this day, I still have it. Just recently, my friend Rocco, he actually helped me tune it up. And so now it's working again properly. But yeah, I mean, so the equipment it's always been humble, a little studio, where even like I had speakers, right now I'm actually using speakers, my friend, Rick, my brother's Rick, but there's another Rick, he let me borrow, and cause mine had blown out and they're just sitting in the thing or whatever, but everything is humble with me. You know what I mean? Everything, the equipment doesn't have to be extravagant. I get good sound. I know what I'm looking for, and I know how to get it out of a small system.
Right. So in this point of this time, when did you transition, or I shouldn't say transition, when did you, because you had a record store. Was this during that same time that the record store was on Archer Ave?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I was producing music, and then I opened up the record store with my cousin. A lot of people know him as Chico. And so we got an investor, which was his girlfriend. And then so we just went at it full force. I'm like, I know how to do this. I used to work at a distributor. I used to work at a record store. I know how this works. And let's do this. So he's the one that actually had the idea to let's do something. So we did it, and you know, our money we put in, like, which was a lot of sweat equity. In the record store, actually, I used to produce music in the record store. You
I
know,
think I remember
so I
that
get,
in the back there, right? It's
yeah, like behind the tape and the tapes and the CDs and stuff. So I used to have people like it'd be like, hey, DJs and producers were like, hey, what's up with, you know, I heard that you record for me. I'm like, yeah, can I see what you got? I'm like, yeah, sure, you know, and I would trust the people. Nothing went wrong, but you know, they would check it out. They're like, even Bill, as a matter of fact, Bill came to the store one time. He didn't believe that I produced with what I produced with. So he came by the store to drop off records that I had placed an order, and he goes, but everyone had the same impression, like, get out of here. This is what you need. That's it. Where Bill had $1 million studio, you know what I mean?
right,
And
right.
he was upset because, like, man, what the hell am I doing with a $1 million studio? And this is all you need, you know what I mean? And but you know, that's a struggle. I mean, you gotta pull from, you know, whatever you have, and you know, and maximize it. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's important. I think sometimes having less makes you more creative
I think so.
and be, you know, I've always said that, you know, even what's going on right now, because everything is back at the basics at this point.
Yes.
Now we
Yes.
got to be real creative, stuff like
Good
that.
point.
So I mean, I could feel what you're talking about, because, you know, like where I'm at right now, this used to be my studio, right? And I
Uh,
remember buying the Juno 101. You know, that was the keyboard that I bought. I bought the 808, and I did a little producing and stuff like that. And you know, I don't know if you knew this, but I was Rocky and Lauren signed me on DJ International Records, but it didn't go anywhere. It really didn't go anywhere. I
yeah,
did
yeah,
it for a
yeah.
little bit, and I tried it. I had the bug and stuff like that. And I remember it was just tough. It was just tough and being, you know, DJing. And then I was like, you know, at one point I said, no, this is not what I want to do. But I had the studio. I had the little studio that I created and stuff like that. And I didn't do anything with it. And I had the bug, but I didn't go anywhere with it. But you know, with me, it was, then I went into the Latin aspect of it. So I didn't care about the production wise, but exactly that, you know,
Yeah. You know,
if
I want to say.
I didn't, you were saying?
Oh, I was just gonna mention something. So, in regards to the timeline and history and stuff. So I was messing with DJ Jess, and he had bought an MPC. I forgot if it was just an MPC or MPC2 or whatever it is. But I had bought the MPC 3000 with Ito, like I mentioned. But who taught DJ Jess was Tyree Cooper, you know, and Tyree actually. I want to give credit for him to him too for helping me mix down Chicago Southside. We mixed it at my friend's crib. So Tyree actually also plays a big role because he's like big brother, you know what I mean? And he always looked out for us. Like when I say us, Jeff, and these are countless people, right? But I'm just saying, you know, the story where I learned how to mess with the MPC is seeing Jess and Tyree, you know, mess with it or whatever. And that inspired me. But yo, I got ideas. Instead of buying the 909 and 808 and, you know, the drum machines,
Right.
I can sample these sounds. Fuck that, and just go about it that way. And it worked for me. You know what I mean? And I would
Right.
actually do like live tutorials for people, like, oh, do this, do that, do that, do that. You know what I mean? People to this day still come up to me, yo, thanks for showing me how to use that thing or whatever. It was brand new, and then I was giving them secrets and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And but I really a big fan of the MPC because that got me a lot of things, a lot of my creativity out. You know what I mean?
Well, Caesar, one of the things that I could tell you as a DJ when I used to buy records, I used to buy your records as well, is you had a
Thank you.
different sound than all the other, I would say the other DJs that were out there. And you had a very old school Latin sound, technically, because I remember you know, Chicago South Side. And then there was another one with a Vicente, if I'm not mistaken, it was a Vicente or something like that. Yeah, it
No, no,
was
no. It was,
Vicente.
I think it was like Banda Macho or something like that. I forgot the artist. There
Oh
was
yeah,
actually
okay.
two artists. Yeah, there was two artists that I sampled for that one recording. It was actually, what's funny about that, when I was actually at the record store, we had just, got the lease and we built our own, what is it called? Like, record cases and our display cases. We built them from scratch. And when I say
Right.
we, I designed them or whatever. My uncles that were in from Mexico, they know how to weld, so they were doing that, right? As I'm doing tracks, that was actually kind of almost like a challenge, almost like you can't do a Latin thing. I'm like, get out of here. I could. And so they pushed me like, all right, let's see. Knocked it out. And I would knock out tracks in a day. You know what I mean? I would just like nothing, I just go. And then I showed it to them and they're like, the next day they're like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, damn, you did it. And they're like, yo, it sounds really good. So I put it out and out on the market and, whatnot, right? So then people definitely gravitated to that. It's actually, I know it's really big in LA, or at least at one point it was. I know that a lot of people, yeah, and shit like that. So yeah, a lot of love LA.
Oh no, I mean, that and hence that's what I was gonna say, because I remember you were kind of one of the and it wasn't even a Latin remix, but you did a remix with Latin background
Artist.
tracks, and that was,
Yeah.
yeah.
I did a remix for La Diferencia. That was an Arista. I did a remix for Los Ilegales. That one's called Burn It Up. And that was on Logic Records out of New York.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was definitely, that's pretty, I was definitely in the Latin, so doesn't mean I need to be into Latin music, but that was definitely a big inspiration for me throughout, my career and stuff.
Right. So after you did this with this, then where does your career go from that point into?
So right. So now I'm making noise, right, with tracks, and they're on mixed compilations everywhere, right? Like I can't escape it. I'm, cruising to go get some pizza, and somebody cruising with a car with the music blasting. My track here, my track there. I go to clubs. I'm at the door. My track. I'm club hopping every single time we're in there. This track, that track, next track. So there was a lot of craziness. I was happy with my music worldwide and everything. You know what I mean? And so that brought now the remix part of it of CZR, right? So now I'm being asked to do remixes, right? So I'm like, I don't know how to negotiate these things, you know what I mean? Like whatever. So Bill stepped up, and Bad Boy Bill stepped up, and he's like, "You want me to manage you?" I'm like, "Yeah." So he made a cut off of it, and he maximized what I could get, and we kept doing that, kept flipping remixes and stuff. And before you know it, then I was handling them myself. I mean, I did remixes for Enrique Iglesias, Bob Sinclair. Some people say Bob Sinclair. I don't see an I in there, so it's different. Eddie Amador. So I've done stuff for Defected, for Interscope, through Steve Hurley and Skip of SNS Records. They actually had got me some remixes for Brandy and Beyonce. So a lot of stuff was coming through because my records or my songs or whatever were doing really good at the clubs, and then that's when you get that attention. So instead of you knocking on people's doors, now they're knocking on yours or ringing your phone. So
right.
That's always good.
Well, I mean, you're basically showing Chicago to the world, basically, because I guess I'm gathering that you just didn't stay in Chicago. You were DJing all over the world because of this as well. You're getting booked.
Definitely. One of the things.
What would you consider your?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, one of the things that So traveling started off first here in the U.S. And then I went abroad to like a lot of countries to DJ. Still DJ here and there, throughout the U.S. I haven't done any European gigs lately, but I plan to hopefully soon, get that going.
What would you consider your highlight of your DJing and stuff? What would be your like the wow factor? What would be your?
A wild fact, man. There's a lot. Honestly, there's a lot. I do want to say a story. I was DJing out in London, right? So it was Eric
Okay.
Morillo, Harry Choo Choo,
Oof,
Richard Bosch.
oof.
So we're traveling from the U.S. to the UK, and they lose our records, right? As soon as we get there, I'm supposed to DJ at this radio station. Luckily, Eric Morillo had a bag that he would carry with him. No, two bags, and then his roadie would carry the two bags, but then he would put the rest of them in storage or whatever. So we all did that, right? So I mean, I was new to traveling overseas, so I'm like, I'm just gonna take this and my backpack or whatever it was. Anyways, we get there. Eric gives me his record. He's like, pick out whatever. I didn't know what the hell he had in there. I just like, all right, cool. This looks familiar or sounds familiar, the name or whatever. I went to go spin on BBC Radio, Radio 1. As soon as we got out of the plane, grabbed the records, like I said, and jetted out there. Come back, I change, then I have to drive 2 hours away so I can DJ. I forgot what city it was. But DJ there, it was more of a techno crowd. At this point, we already had got the records back. So I go do my set there, drive 2 hours back, and I play a Ministry of Sound. So that's kind of the highlight, right? The highlight part of the story.
Right.
I play Ministry of Sound, and it's amazing because, they have these mixers, and I know you're probably familiar with the Bozaks. Yeah. So instead of the faders being up and down and,
Right.
sideways, the thing is the knob. So I was like,
Right.
oh, I've never spun with that, so now I got to learn how do you bring it in or whatever, So through that now, actually, I like mixing with the faders instead of like the pitch, not the pitch, the crossfader.
Cross, yeah.
Yeah. But it was amazing because I played, just walking in, you're like, hey, what up, Caesar? Ooh, what up, CZR? Or they say CZR over there. And as soon as I was done, I come out and, this is actually the part. So I'm playing now, right? I play, I think, after Harry Choo Choo. And they're vets, right? So they've been there, plenty of times. I'm nervous because it's Ministry of Sound, right? And so I'm spinning, and I'm playing what I play. You know what I mean? Like, if people know my sound is like the harder side of it, that's what I was playing. Where I was like aggressive disco stuff, right? And the club has to shut down. Why? Because the speakers in the back were on fire. Dude. So I'm walking out, right? Well, we got to walk out. Everyone's got to get out. And people are like, yo, Caesar, bro, nobody's ever played like that here before. And so I was like, kind of glad about that because it was like harder, was different, I guess, for them. And which goes back to your point that you're saying, like my sound was different or whatever and unique to a certain extent. I didn't know that. I'm just doing music. You know what I mean? I'm just my interpretation of house music. You know what I mean?
Right.
And but it caught on. So that was kind of dope.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's one of my highlights is like the Ministry of Sounds speakers went on fire in the back while I was singing. Go figure,
No. The roof is on fire.
right. There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's a cool story. Very good story.
Yeah. Thank you.
So now you're you're still producing, and
Yeah.
you have your own label. Is that right? Texture Records, or
Well, now, right, exactly. So after doing a lot of DJing and then doing stuff with a bunch of people, I actually I had started a label with Bill, but that kind of just whatever. I'm not even talk about that story. But then I did my own what's called a P&D deal with Eric Morillo. So Eric Morillo's Subliminal was actually distributing my label. We had, I think, 4 releases. And as a matter of fact, I actually had it's an invention, right? So when you have something, even though you, as long as you make an improvement to something, that's an invention, right? So I invented this, these brand new record
you
covers.
retrofitted it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even know if I have it here. I mean, I should have it, but so I created these covers. Oh, right here. So these record covers I created, right? And you see that it's embossed there, or
Yeah.
debossed, because actually pushed in. But how you create these jackets is what the improvement was. How it actually you put it together. So besides being an entrepreneur with a record, what is it called? A store or the record label that I did, Beauty Star Records. Then I moved on to doing the record label, but then also designed the jackets for it. So then it would cut on cost because a regular record would have the sleeve and the jacket. The sleeve being the white part that goes the record goes in there, and then that goes in the jacket. So I was cutting one part out, so you didn't need a sleeve. It was the sleeve and jacket together. You know what I mean? Plus other things that go into that, the design of it or whatever. But yeah, so then I did the record label, and then my deal with just having Eric Murillo distribute the label stopped. Record sales kind of basically had dropped because then now we're into this new format of MP3s of how to sell music.
Right.
And then that's why we launched the label digitally. I forgot what year it was. So I started Texture was in 2007. Exactly my daughter's birthday, as a matter of fact, May 21st, 2007. And so did the label, and then started doing the label digitally. But then continued just writing, so then I met up with, I was doing remixes for a lot of people or whatever. Right? But one of the remixes that I did was for Bear Who. And then he introduced me to my writing partner now, Malik. And Malik and I have been writing songs since then, you know what I mean? And as a matter of fact, today is a release date to one of my new songs with Malik and Ghetto Blaster. Ghetto Blaster is a big part of that particular recording, and we have other recordings that we have in the works or is already finished, ready to go out. But we have one release out today. The next release, I think it's out May 8th, and maybe another week after that, I have another one out, all with Ghetto Blaster and, different, like the one that we have out now is, I think, only on Beatport exclusive, and then everywhere else you can stream it, but to purchase it, you would actually have to wait till May 8th for that one. Beatport has it for 2 weeks as an exclusive for right now. But
So digitally, I that was going to be my next question, because you're dealing still with. So from what I hear, vinyl is making a comeback. That's what I'm hearing, and there, a lot of DJs are on there. Mario Reyes and all these guys are on there. So what's up, Mario? What I'm understanding that vinyl is making a big comeback when it comes to it, and you still, I know everybody's DJs on computer, but you still like DJing on vinyl, if I'm not mistaken. You still like that feel and stuff like that. I think everybody likes that.
Yeah.
And do you start? Are you starting to see that in the record label? Are you starting to see any of that?
Yeah, I'm actually, man, really itching to have some of the releases that I've had be released on vinyl. Obviously, that's a different investment, right? Where digitally is less of an investment. Right. You can't take for granted studio time, even though you own it. It's still studio time, right? But there's expenses, artwork and whatever, Just kind of what you're saying too, to kind of put two and two together. Like as a label, like I have to design a lot of stuff myself instead of outsourcing it, because then that costs money. So I, cut out some costs. I create logos. I created my logo.
Nice.
For texture recording, and along the way, I had different people help me with different graphics and whatnot. But to tie the two things in, what you had just said a little while ago is that we're learning everything from, like, right now with the streaming and the live DJs and stuff. Like, we have to learn how to be a producer of TV, or basically, because we're dealing with video, and even the trouble that everybody's having with that lies with copyright. People getting shut down because of copyright. But there's also one thing that people are missing, which is a sync license that people don't know about. So, like, if I have a song, and so there's like different entities, right? So if I have a song, somebody wants to use it in a movie, that's called a sync license, right? So you got to get permission from the copyright holders, and you have to get permission for the master use, who owns the recording. Because you can own the song, the copyright, but that doesn't mean you have a right to use that recording. You can remake it, and then don't have to pay the original artist. But there's a lot that goes into it. But anyways, that said, as a label or as a record store, like, you know, even like the logo, we had a symbol that my cousin is, George is the one that came up with the idea for that represents records. You know what I mean? That little star thingy or whatever they put in the middle for 45s. So that was our logo. And, but anyways, yeah, so you have to learn all these things if, you know, instead of outsourcing them and stuff, you know, and then, but I like that part, because then that's the creative side of me, you know, that I can explore.
Well, I think, and you brought up a good point. Everybody's, because of what's happening with the pandemic and stuff like that, everybody's live streaming, and they, you know, and I remember I had Johnny on here talking about a blanket license and stuff like that, and you brought up the thing about the sync. I think that's one of the things. I guess when I understand, there's no way around it per se, as far as, you know, they getting away from the copyrights and stuff like that. These times that we're in now is putting a challenge to a lot of people, especially DJing online and stuff like that. I do my mix and stuff like that. I get cut off or I don't get cut off, and it's a real tricky situation. But at the same time, I know when we were making the mixtapes and CDs, basically everybody was doing the mixtapes and CDs, and there wasn't a lot of licensing on mixtapes. And I think it was Bad Boy Bill that did the first licensed mixtape, and that was like, and he was, you know, and he was everywhere. And I remember that, and I give him a lot of props for that. They're doing that, and
marketing and everything,
right? And then Alex Perez did also a Maximo. Remember they did their.
That's right, Lee Farmer and Laz.
Right. That was they did and stuff like that. So I give him props for that. And you know, and I told you that's what, you know, I did it for fun. I did it for the 5 years, and then I stopped because that's not what I was going for, you know. But something like you and the licensing and stuff like that, live streaming. I know it's a catch-22. We like to live stream. We want people to enjoy our mixes and stuff forth and stuff like, you know, there's the mix cloud. People put up the you know, the mixes on the mix cloud and stuff like that. But live streaming seems to be where everybody's going at now. And trust me, I see from, you know, guys from New York, for guys from Italy's doing live streaming. Everybody, every DJ in the world is doing live streaming. You live stream as well and stuff like that. So I guess it's really tricky in the sense that we still want to do what we do, meaning that we bring that joy of playing music and DJing and letting people enjoy the music. Copyrights have to protect the artist, you know, you being the artist and you being which called the artist.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, obviously I'm an artist, I'm a songwriter, and then a DJ as well, right? So I understand both sides of this coin, right? Where I definitely want people to get their money and stuff, because I want to get my money for anybody streaming my music or buying it, obviously. So I have the right people that are behind that, whether it's your distribution or label that you're on or whatever. And, you know, have them push your music, you know, and even if it's, so just like if Love and Hip Hop was to use one of my songs, then, you know, they got to pay, you know what I mean? So imagine it's the same thing, right? Because if I'm spinning records and you're recording me on video and you're hearing the audio, that's the sync, right? The sync license. So why shouldn't an artist get paid for that if somebody's watching Love and Hip Hop and my song goes on? There's recording video and then there's audio bed of the music bed, right? And then, so why should I get paid? So the difference that something that Benji and Rudy V talked about, and then too, and I talked about earlier, was that part, and he made a very good point that, like, with platforms like Mixcloud, when you hit play, you can't rewind. You have to listen to the whole thing. You can't rewind at any point. You know what I mean? So that's how they get around that part.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where the new Mixcloud streaming, that they're not going to have I don't know what they're developing, but I'm saying they don't have right now, from what I understand, what I read and what I saw, the video, it's a video that you stream your mix live, video and audio, but they don't record it onto their server. So once you hit stop, that's it. You can't go back and check it out. So DJs, they're using this OBS system, which I just learned that, a couple of weeks ago. You can actually record your mixes on there. So the whole video and whatever, and you just have it for yourself, and who knows what we can do with them later. But that's how Mixcloud gets around it. But, for right now, we're just trying it, and hopefully we don't get stopped. And if we get stopped, YOLO, just go back on again. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I is that I give them an expectation live streaming. Live streaming is just that. It's live, and if you think you're going to just like you're at the club, you're not going to get a replay of the music like you're going to say, oh, can we hear the song before, 2 songs before I walked in the club. The same thing with live streaming. I think it's only right.
It's the experience of the moment,
live
right?
streaming, there shouldn't be any replay per se. It's live. Let's get way.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. You can record it, whatever, but for the most part. Yep.
So I'm gathering that. Right, and I think that's what they and I think that's what they're trying to combat between the live streaming and that's what they don't want. And obviously they're muted, everything gets what's called, and I understand that. That's good business in an aspect of CZR. What is your plans after this next? I mean, you mentioned about a release, but do you have anything that you can say like, okay, this is something I'm going to do?
Right. So as far as music is concerned, what I'm doing right now is just, just like always, there's a thing, acronym that's ADC, and it's used in different businesses. In real estate, they say always be closing, and there's, other businesses, the same thing. When it comes out to music, it says always be creating, right? So that's exactly what I do. I'm always creating, you know what I mean? Even if it's just a small idea or whatever, capture it, record it, write it down or whatever, and then expand on it. But so I'm going to continue writing, producing, developing artists, collaborations. I love collaborating with people. I love my singers, my rappers. I love adding that dynamic to a song. I'm going to continue to do that. I know the other part that not a lot of people know about me is that I'm in real estate. So I'm trying to do a lot of investments in that area and stuff. And, been learning a lot of stuff. So if anybody needs any help with that, I can definitely help. I've experienced that for a long time already. So what did you say?
That's good. I mean, I says no. So how people are going to be able to reach you of that, and for the real estate aspect of it? Is it through a company, or do you have your own?
You can reach out to me. On Facebook stuff. Yeah, you can reach out to me on Facebook. Always glad to help people. As a professional, obviously, you know more than the average person. So some people don't know their rights as far as even like renting. I love to help people that are renting, and across the board, anything that's Section 8, even. Like I love to educate people on that stuff. But I've always been a person that's each one teach one. I'm like pushing that really hard right now. And in any aspect of my life, if I know something, I love to let somebody else know, and if it can help them grow, then big ups,
Yeah, cool. I got a bunch of people online, like a cheese ball from 720s online as
What
well.
up,
Louis,
Steve?
Roland Rivera, some of these guys and stuff. Mario, you know, I told you. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've encountered a lot of the Chicago clubs and stuff like that, and the big clubs. You know, and I think the last time, maybe about a year ago, I think you were doing some, because I know you, Jess, you still are in the inner
Can
circles
you
of,
kind of,
if you guys have never heard, I'm sorry about that, Caesar. I was just telling everybody, if you've never heard CZR DJ, I will recommend it. Definitely go out there and hear him
thank you.
DJ, because he's phenomenal.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate that.
So I think that's it, Caesar. Anything else, closing you want to say? No, I mean, no, I think I was pretty quick, pretty cool, right? You know, as far
Yeah,
as,
yeah. It went quick, the hour. No, not really,
all
man.
right,
Just, you know,
well, guys, thank you. Yeah. All right. Well, that's the front room, guys. You were listening to producer and DJ CZR. Thank you very much. CZR, thank you. Don't, we're all good. Have a good one.
thank you, sir.